In this video, we're going to have further attention to how ABR Fascia Gel influences the control of the lips and the facial mimics, and how that aspect impacts the key function of eating and swallowing, and of course also the related behavior and kind of relationship with food. So as a sort of an intro for this video, I've chosen this one where our friend is being indoctrinated into the relationship with the salad, and you can see that so far it's taking a certain time to get, but the next picture might be surprising for you. Right? Because here I'm first of course talking about the controls of the lips, and you can see here how the difference in the lips control is coming into the play. But the next picture could be surprising for you, because here I'm switching to birds, right? So you see this kind of cute little fledglings, baby birds, and what are we extracting from this? Because that's a key difference between the way the birds swallow and eat in that sense, and the way how we do, the humans. So the key point, the birds, and you can see it particularly well at the fledglings, they don't have any equivalent of the lips. So therefore the food literally goes down into the throat. So that's why those hungry, beeping fledglings, they provide so much of this information, and that's very informative when you see, look how far you can literally throw into the throat. That's the key difference. And if we look at the children with disabilities, that's what often happens, right? So you see, if you look at this action is the action of swallowing, which goes not so much through the lips coordination, but actually going right down the throat. So that's what we want to change. Because on the one hand, of course, the birds, they have these amazing capacities. You can see here images for the birds swallowing fish. How 15 times the birds swallow their prey faster than you can blink. Or if you look here, look at that. This is a giant fish, and the bird, which is able to stretch their throat so far that the entire fish goes in. And that's really the key, because what happens in the swallowing for the child with disability is the fact is that a lot of them develop this capacity to control the swallowing purely through the throat. In other words, they are not using their primary mechanisms which we have in our human buildup of the digestive tract. So in other words, they are not really using the lips as the epicenter of the coordinators, of the coordination. They are not using the tongue. They're not using this triple coordination, lips, tongue, cheeks, and only then the throat. And what they're having, they're using the bird strategy. But the thing is, the bird strategy is working relatively okay for the younger children, but as the child gets older and the tissues getting stiffer, and like other things add up, unfortunately that doesn't help. And of course on top of this there are additional troubles. If you are using the bird strategy for swallowing, that means that you are like blocking any kind of the voice box development, so you are not expecting quality sounds and vocalizations, let alone words. You are going to have troubles with the control of the mimics. You're going to have the troubles with the control of the head overall, because this is a critical area. This is a primary kind of dynamic box of the head, and that's what you really need to engage. So, and if you're able to engage your mouth, if you're able to engage your lips and so on, then every act of eating becomes the act of training. So, and then of course on top of it, it brings the change in the way how the food goes through, right? So you see here, you can see this illustration of the entire tube, so which starts obviously at the top and then goes through. So if you have troubles with the proper calibration of the entry into the tube originally, then things are going to be affected there. And this is a very important picture. So this is a lesser known muscle, which is called the buccinator, but this is a muscle which is really linked to the circular performance of the mouth. They go together effectively. And this is what we need to keep in mind. So that's a circular image, which is very, very, very striking. But then, like here, you see on the more typical pictures, you don't see that buccinator, how deeply it roots. But that's the one which is also called the dimple muscle. So, and the dimples are not just kind of their manifestations of cuteness. So those dimples and the controls of the lips, as you can see here, that's the part which is really essential for the coordination of swallowing. So these slides are showing you very, very clearly the change in the relationship with food. So this is the effort that he was doing before, and you're looking at his sad face, right? And now this is a very explorative relationship with food. So that's one of the biggest changes, because this is a kid who was never really looking at the things that he would be bringing. So he would be just bringing things into his mouth without looking there. So that's finally we see this kind of the triangle of coordination: the eyes, the lips, the hand, which is going there. And instead of this sad face, you're looking here. So that's really a much more explorative behavior with the entire food intake action. So this is what you need to be kind of keeping in mind, that, well, maybe the factor of the primary controls is not so important for you, but then the eating and swallowing is really essential even for the children who are in a more severe condition. And what we're showing here is very much just the illustration of how this relationship with food works, and that you can also visualize that if the child is in the situation where it needs to implement the bird strategy for the direct throat swallowing, you can have all sorts of troubles with the relationship with the food, and also of course the things like digestion and for example the running stomach at the same time could be. So these are the things which are more kind of converting it into the bird type of scenario. And you see here in this video is very, very clearly, so that's a more typical scenario. You can observe how the tongue is being pretty much pulled by the throat, so which makes it difficult to control, and you can see how the lips are not being coordinated with the tongue. So that's a typical type of the scenarios, and that's what you actually don't want. And as we get back to our observations here, so here is the sequence, right? So you see that's the smile, another smile, and this is, here we are, there's the relationship with food. And that was a more typical scenario, right? So you see, that's where what we had before. So this kind of relationship, which sometimes you see that's a very, it looks like a very strange facial appearance, but it's just lack of the circular control that you had there. So, it's like, looks like he's really suffering, but it's not suffering because very soon he's actually switching to a happy mode. But this is just the way of relating to food, and you see never really looking into it. Whilst now you can see this new relationship very, very clearly, and that's what you would also want to introduce as much as possible, for your child if you have any challenges or any deficiency with feeding and swallowing. And then you see here we are, that's the activity of the lips, and more activity of the lips, and you can see here that's the exploration of the food that is starting to happen. And exploration of the food is really essential before getting better in eating. And here you can really see how it shows you, the video shows you the change at this activity of those buccinator muscles, right? So you see this circle around the face, how it actually changes. So, and as we go further, we can see this is the total scenario. So that's a calibration which is illustrating you how very clearly the improvement of the facial mimics is not only contributing to the more accurate and more happy, if you wish, facial expressions and contributions and emotional accuracy and the other aspects of the emotional behavior, but you can also see the change in the relationship with food. And that change in the relationship with food is a very important dimension of everyday being.